For me, I find this absolutely mesmerizing. But what about you? What do you think of when you hear the word titanium?
Maybe medical parts? Because, we all have that friend who's got a body part being held together with a piece of titanium, right? What about the aerospace industry? Because there's got to be a lot of cool stuff floating around in space made of titanium. But the truth is, titanium has a plethora of uses everywhere, and it just sounds cool. Like titanium. Titanium. It's pretty fun to say. So it should be no surprise that Captain America's shield is made from some fictitious alloy called vibranium, or in the movie Avatar, they were mining for a fictitious element called unobtainium. It's almost as if Hollywood picked those two terms because it sounds an awful lot like titanium. As if titanium has this mystique about it for being some super cool element. Well, okay, it is. It's pretty badass, actually. It's widely used in a number of industries. The auto, marine, cosmetic, food, medical, computer, aerospace, all these industries widely use titanium. But for me, I think I forget about all that usefulness because it seems that fabricating bike frames, especially hardtails, is titanium's highest and best use.
You see, its ability to withstand corrosion, its strength to weight ratio, along with being easily fabricated make it ideal for bike frame building. It does have some negative properties which I'll touch on later, but the corrosion resistance makes it great for high humid areas like Florida. But likewise, it's great for places that get lots of rain or often have you riding through mud. In terms of strength to weight, if you took the same size pieces of steel, titanium, and aluminum, the titanium block is just as strong but 45% lighter than the steel block. This means a fabricator can use the same amount of titanium as they would for a steel frame, but the titanium frame's 45% lighter. And in contrast, the titanium block is 65% heavier than the aluminum block, but twice as strong. Hence, a bike fabricator can use half as much titanium as they would for an aluminum frame while being just as strong. All of that means a bike frame made from titanium retains the strength and vibration dampening characteristics of steel, but is much lighter. And a bike frame made from titanium is pretty much just as light as one made from aluminum, yet stronger and more forgiving. So you see, for an alloy, it's pretty ideal for bike fabrication. Now, I'm guessing based on the thumbnail image you clicked on, you know what has happened. Well, you might think you know what has happened. Yes, okay. I have traded up my steel frame Stanton switchback for Stanton's Generation 3 titanium switchback. It is so choice. If you have the means, I highly recommend one. When I pulled the frame out of the box, I was conflicted in whether to mount the frame to the living room wall or to go ahead and build a bike out of it. The obvious choice was to build a bike around it. My intention was to just transfer all of the parts from my steel switchback to the tie frame, but I decided something this delicious deserved some new seasoning. So I in fact made some upgrades. Not the least of which is the Öhlins RFX36 M2 coil fork. That's right, a coil. I decided to go coil after riding a friend's Öhlins coil fork. The small bump sensitivity with coil forks is just night and day better than any air fork I've ever ridden. And I figured for a hardtail, a bike that's mostly going to be ridden in Florida, making all the roots we have kind of disappear in the front would be really nice.
Alright. This is a fun trail. It's always fun on this bike, but it's a couple of different sections. Chunky, flowy, jumpy, technical.
My steel switchback had a 160mm travel fork on it, and this Öhlins fork came set at 170. It was pretty simple to adjust the stroke of the fork down to 150mm, and after getting a stiffer spring, I'm really quite satisfied with this setup. Next was the drivetrain, which also got treated with titanium parts as well as some wireless goodies. The Cane Creek E-Wings are one of those upgrades that seem to make good sense from an investment standpoint. How is it an investment, you ask? Let me explain. See, while being pretty darn bulletproof from the start, they utilize a 30mm spindle, which makes bottom brackets easy to find, and they come with a 10-year warranty. So I fully expect to utilize these cranks on whichever bike frame this build evolves to. I'll likely never go back to carbon cranks, at least not from SRAM. So consider my cranks sorted. forever. Now handling shifting duties is an XX1 axis derailleur, which is replacing an analog XX1 unit. I'm pretty well acclimated to wireless shifting. We migrated to ETAP wireless on our road bikes back in 2016, along with my wife's TT bike. Then my trail bike, then her gravel bike, so yeah, super familiar, which makes it an easy transition. Plus, there will always be a charged battery laying around somewhere. Even more so now that I have 2 axis droppers. I honestly didn't intend to have an axis dropper, let alone 2 of them. I swore I'd never spend that much on a dropper. I even gave my buddy a really hard time for spending so much on an axis dropper. But then my analog post gave me issues, and due to lack of availability last year, I made the switch, and I honestly tried to fight it. Heck, my wife's gravel bike had a wireless dropper before I did. But once I got it, man, it's hard to give up. Of course, there were a few things I did not change, nor would I give up, and that's my Noble wheels laced to i9 Hydra hubs and my TRP G-Spec Quadium brakes. That makes this build about as robust and reliable as I can imagine. I've never had issues with SRAM's wireless goods, never had issues with my Noble wheels, no issues with i9 products, and no issues with my 4-year-old TRP brakes. I certainly don't expect any issues from Stanton's tie frame or Cane Creek's E-wing cranks. I mentioned negatives about titanium a minute ago. Well, one of the negatives is that you need to use anti-seize on any part where titanium meets another metal. Not doing so can allow the 2 metals to oxidize and bond together. I know, it's hardly a negative, but that copper anti-seize is so hard to get off of something you don't want it on. Titanium is quite difficult to cast as well. This is why you generally don't see odd-shaped tubes on tie bikes. This part right here on my switchback isn't a tube, but it isn't cast either. It was milled from a solid block of titanium. And the other negative is the elephant in the room, the price. It is pricey. But it's not as if you don't get a tangible return for your money. It's going to be lighter, stronger, more forgiving, more corrosion resistant, and maybe best of all, a titanium frame has much higher fatigue resistance than an aluminum, steel, or carbon frame. This means you can safely use your titanium frame or parts longer than from parts made from other common materials. After a handful of rides once I got the coil fork dialed, I can honestly say that my expectations of Stanton's tie frame has been thoroughly exceeded. Which leads us to the thing you don't know about this build. Stanton bikes liked your reaction to my steel hardtail video so much, the one where I sold my Yeti, they just gave me this frame. Yup, straight up gave it to me, no strings attached. They even went one step further and put my channel name on the down tube, and if you didn't pick up on it, it's anodized. It's not a sticker or paint, it's part of the titanium. How cool is that?
Cool, yes, but it may have you wondering if I'm sponsored by Stanton or if this video is sponsored by Stanton. The answer to that is no. Not this video, nor am I sponsored by Stanton. They didn't ask me to make this video, and they didn't get to see this video before it was published. So they had no say in what I could or could not say about their bikes or any of their products on this or any future video about their bikes. But we did decide to work together for a common goal, and that is to make sure that my personal steel Stanton switchback frame finds a new good home. That's why I'll be giving away this sweet steel, one-of-a-kind Mr. Tonka switchback frame to one lucky winner. The giveaway is going to happen on Instagram. You can check the description below for details, but basically you're going to follow me and Stanton on Instagram. You're going to tag 3 friends in the comment section of the giveaway post, and then you're entered. Simple as that. If you haven't subscribed yet, you may want to do so you don't miss any future videos about Stanton's cool bikes. I hope to see you here again next time, and until then, be kind to each other, and thanks for watching.